The action continues in Tel Aviv. Now we make our way into the women's floor and men's parallel bar stage of the competition. Let's have a look at the contenders. Margot Dondois, medalist yesterday. Lihiratz of Israel, 7th best in qualification. European Championship medalist on floor in 2020. Noreen Boyer, who's just won the balance beam title. Alba Patisco of Spain, World Cup champion on floor. Morgane Ossisek of France, Mediterranean Games medalist on floor. Georgia Godwin of Australia, national champion. Ilia Tolle of Belgium, just her second senior international competition. Nazanin Temurova of Azerbaijan, who's already a regular World Cup finalist on floor at just 15. On the men's parallel bars, Pavel Gulidov of Israel, 5th best in qualification. 2nd best in qualification and going for his 3rd title of the weekend, Christopher Mezaros. Mitch Morgans of Australia, 4 times a World Cup medalist. Ferhat Arajan of Turkey, the bronze medalist at the Olympic Games. Tiano Diallo of Spain, bronze medalist at the European Championships. Ahmed Under of Turkey, World Championship silver medalist in 2019. Glenn Trebing of Germany, silver medalist at last year's National Championships. And Uri Zeidel of Israel, part of the team that won the Maccabi Games title last year. Those are your contenders. Thus we are set to begin the women's floor competition. The last event for women at this World Challenge Cup in Tel Aviv, and the penultimate event for the men, the parallel bars final. Such a great juxtaposition. The freedom of the expansive space of the largest apparatus in gymnastics and the confinement of those parallel bars. They both have their distinct and different challenges. If you're someone like Christopher Mezaros, you can excel on the floor and on the parallel bars. So let's have a look at the qualification numbers in the parallel bars competition. The top performer, Ferhat Arajan, with a score of 15.1. He was roughly 1 million points ahead of the second placed gymnast. It certainly felt like it anyway. Christopher Mezaros, 14.15. That's a 0.95 gap between Arajan and the second best performer in qualifications. So I think it's time to employ that popular cliche, it is Arajan's to lose, as you would expect from somebody of his experience and quality on the apparatus. Twice a European champion, a medalist at the last Olympics. He is magnificent on the parallel bars. But an error from Arajan and it will open the door, maybe only a fraction ajar, because he has got room to lose a little and still win the title, because his difficulty is very high. Arajan's difficulty 6.5. That's almost half a mark better than Mezaros. On floor, the top performer in qualification was Georgia Godwin, 13.467. The second best, Morgane Ossisek, 13.233. Waiting in the wings, the first gymnast in the women's floor final, and a gymnast who really was so impressive on the uneven bars yesterday. Despite a problem, the potential abundantly clear.
I think we are ready on floor, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as we get a sign of God is a judge today. We can start. There we go. First exercise on floor for
Margot Dondoin of Belgium, the first to go in this women's floor final. She was the third best in qualification with a score of 13.067. Once again, it is clear that this is a gymnast of substantial quality and of high potential. Yes, a problem with the last tumbling pass in particular for Margot Dondoin. However, there's reason to be really optimistic about what she will produce at international level. So the men's parallel bars competition. Israel's Pavel Gulidov, fifth best in qualification with 13.6. Looking pretty clean and secure so far. Gymnast with the lowest difficulty of any of the qualifiers, but his execution is nice. Good tidy handstands. Little form break there. Beautiful fluid motion bringing the heels together. Pretty secure dismount as well from Pavel Gulidov of Israel, the 23-year-old. He's had an enjoyable competition in his home city. The score for Margot Dondoin is 12.267. Now we go to Lihi Kratz. The gymnast who won a bronze medal at the European Championships on floor in 2020. Seventh best in qualifying, 12.6. Room for her execution to come up a little perhaps. Lihiratz of Israel. Great reception from the Tel Aviv faithful. And watching on her teammate Pavel Gulidov. That's the reigning Israeli all-around champion, defending the title from the year before. Pavel Gulidov's score is 13.5, so he's down by 1/10 from qualification. And there is confirmation of that score. Now to Christopher Mezaros, champion on floor, champion on vault, and the second best qualifier for the parallel bars final. 14.15 his score. Smooth opening, not a flicker going into handstand. Good tidy form. Very fluid and secure looking tip out, nice. Quick snap out of it. Diamidov also quite nicely performed. Height on his straddle front somersault as well. That's a good display from Christopher Mezaros. She has a little dismount adjustment, but the execution should be quite solid for the 21-year-old. 12.767 for Lihiratz. I did say her execution had room to improve. It has done by almost a couple of tenths. Will it be enough to get her into contention? To Marine Boyer of France. 12.6 in qualification, but she won the title at the World Cup in Baku. Such a nice performance that from Marine Boyer, a gymnast with real pedigree in World Cup competition. Christopher Mezaros, wait for a score to come in. and it was 14.2, so he's improved his execution by a fraction from qualification. Goes into the lead. Mitch Morgans of Australia, very well known for his work on all of the bars, horizontal and parallel. 6th best in qualifying, 13.6. Great single rail work. He's got terrific physical strength and control. Oh, and he was overarched there. It was so marginal, that, and that reaction indicative that he knows it. Just a few degrees of incline and it takes you absolutely offline and off the apparatus. That was going well too. It was looking like a nice display from Mitch Morgans. Good dismount, largely a really strong display from Mitch Morgans. Naline Boyer leads 13.033. Her execution up quite considerably from qualification. She gains almost half a mark. Now, we have not Morgana Osisek, who's coming up next. This is Alba Petisco of Spain. And boy, does she attack this routine even from before it begins. Spain's Alba Petisco, who won her first World Cup title on this apparatus in Cottbus last year. Mitch Morgans with a score of 12.6. So actually the whole thing really an improvement in terms of difficulty, but a mark down from his qualification performance for obvious reasons. To Ferhat Arujan from Turkey, bronze medalist at the Olympic Games, 2 times a champion of Europe and the silver medalist at his home championships in Antalya earlier this month, or last month actually, because times have moved on quickly. In fact, it was April, this is already June. Ignore everything I'm saying, I've no idea what the date is, but I do know he's very good at the parallel bars. Very difficult routine, this. Now that he's had issues with on a number of occasions, the overarch at the back on the single rail, but he has got difficulty that allows him a little execution to burn. That was brilliant. 90-degree turn was so sharp. Little flickers though, and those paces with the hands causing some problems. Little tense here and there will come off. Nonetheless, it's a packed display. His Diamondov work is extremely impressive. Oh, he saved that with one of the most extraordinary lunges. Now, I did say he had execution to burn. He has burned quite a lot of it. Maybe too much, we'll have to see. But the lunge to hold that dismount, even if it just ends up saving him a tenth or two, could be crucial. Alba Patisco, 13.167. She goes into the lead. She gains half a mark plus from qualification. That's a 0.6 improvement for Alba Patisco. Just a brief reminder of what we've seen so far in the women's floor competition at the halfway mark. Very good display, such assured tumbling from Alba Patisco. His score in qualification was 15.1. It certainly is not going to be anything like that high. 13.6. Oh, a shake of the head from a disappointed Ferhat Arujan, and Christopher Mizaros now has got a very good chance of getting his 3rd gold medal of the competition. And for Arujan, well, he is still in 2nd place, and it's probably that success he had in avoiding completely going to ground on the dismount that has kept him just ahead by a single tenth of Pavel Gulidov. But it's not the sort of position one expected him to be in. Arujan's difficulty, the same as qualification, 6.5, but he was a mark and a half down in execution. Morgan Osisek from France. .233 in qualification, the 2nd best. she has got some huge tumbling work in that performance. Morgan Osisek. It was back at a top 12 event, a domestic competition in last year's first part of the season. I think it was about April or so that she did a double twisting, double tuck for that opening pass. And everybody just sat up and thought, wow, this is a very exciting tumbler we've got here. And it really is evident throughout all of her performances that she is an assured and accomplished gymnast in flight on floor. Have a look back at this performance from Morgan Osisek. There is that belter of an opening pass. On the subject of belters, the European Championship bronze medalist Tierno Diallo of Spain. 13.6 in qualification. He had a wonderful time in Antalya. Very elegant and clean gymnast. Calls from the sidelines of tranquilo, to keep it calm. He does seem to be very calm. Big old Bavzar. Now positions for his tip held. Isn't that nice? Does have a little shimmy as he hits the handstand, but he dismounts well. Tierno Diallo from Spain. Only the 7th best in qualification. And surely she's got to be up there after that display. Into the lead goes Morgan Osisek-Reimer, 13.367. An improvement from qualification. And now we go to the top qualifier, Georgia Godwin, who scored exactly 1/10 higher in the preliminary round than we've just seen in the final from Morgan Osisek. She bids farewell to this competition, but we will see much more of her in due course. Georgia Godwin of Australia, as the score of 14.15 comes in for Tierno Diallo, just 500ths behind Christopher Mezaros. big improvement from qualification. To Ahmet Under of Turkey. 8th best in qualification, but he's got the difficulty to contend. And he won the silver medal at the World Championships 4 years ago. Had a tricky time in the floor final. Sat down on his opening tumbling pass. That took a lot of strength, but he did have to go in installments into that handstand. Just making little adjustments here and there that might slightly tamper with the execution score, but he did get some elevation in the front straddle somersault. It's a light and well-controlled dismount from Ahmet Under. That might well make a bit of a mockery of his qualification score. What about Georgia Godwin? Has she managed to go ahead? Yes, she has. 13.567 for Georgia Godwin. It is an improvement from qualification of just a single tenth. And that's enough to give her a 2/10 advantage over Morgan Osisek. Key there for Godwin, that 5.8 difficulty score. Now we look at Hilaire Tolle of Belgium, 5th best in qualification. You can spot Belgium a mile off on floor, and they're always so enjoyable to watch. The choreography has purpose, it's different, it's inventive. 14.35 for Ahmet Under. I suggested it might make a mockery of his qualification performance. He's gone into the lead. But just back to that display from Hilaire Tolle. A nice musical interpretation of a rather unusual version of Rodrigo's Concierto de Aranjuez. And she has a style to how she performs. Nice to watch. Now, Glenn Trebing of Germany on the parallel bars. 3rd best in qualification, 14.1. Something similar would put him in the mix. Germany has done a good number on parallel bars over the years. That was very fluid and poised from Glenn Trebing. His difficulty is not anything like the difficulty of that gentleman, Ahmet Under. it is certainly not Ahmed Under's score. But Elia Tolle did get a score of 12.8. Now to Nazanin Temurova of Azerbaijan. Last to go in this women's floor competition. Fourth best in qualification, 12.867. Nazanin Temurova from Azerbaijan brings to a close this women's floor competition, and we're getting very used to seeing her in floor competitions at World Cup level. Fourth place for Glenn Trebing with 1 to go, just missing out, 14 exactly, and we have a final performance to come, and it is from one of the home hopes, Uri Zeidel. Needs to be exceptionally crisp if he is to contend. From a difficulty standpoint, he doesn't have quite the luxury of those top gymnasts on the leaderboard, but he's got some very nice work on the piece. 21-year-old Uri Zeidel. And it's a pretty special occasion for him. He's made multiple finals in Tel Aviv. Nazanin Temurova with a score of 12.6, so she is in 7th position. But what a good season she's had in terms of the number of finals she's made. Doha, Baku, Cairo, 3 World Cup finals. She also made her European Championship debut senior level in Antalya. It means it's a victory for Georgia Godwin, with Morgan Osisek Reimer in 2nd place and Alba Patisco taking the bronze, just ahead of Marine Boyer by slightly more than a tenth. For Uri Zeidel, a score of 13.2. His execution down by 0.6 from qualification, difficulty the same, and that makes it a very good win for Ahmed Under. We'll bring you the classified results right now. The bronze medal in the women's floor competition to Spain's Alba Patisco, silver to Morgan Osisek Reimer of France, and the gold medal won by Australia's Georgia Godwin. Commiserations to Marine Boyer, just missing out. In the men's parallel bars competition, bronze to Tierno Diallo of Spain, just as he did at the European Championships a couple of months ago. Hungary's Christopher Mészáros continues his excellent weekend with a second place finish, beaten only by Ahmed Under of Turkey, 14.35 his score. And time now for the last event of this inaugural Tel Aviv Artistic Gymnastics World Challenge Cup. It's the men's horizontal bar final. Let's take a look at your contenders. Alexander Kunz of Germany, 7th best in qualification, his second World Cup event. Cameron Lynn of Great Britain, the Scottish champion on this piece. Ilya Lyubimov of Israel, 6th best in qualification. Alexander Myakinin of Israel, the 2nd best in qualification and the European Championship bronze medalist in 2020. Christopher Mészáros of Hungary, the 4th best in qualification. And the gymnast who already won 2 gold medals this weekend. Tierno Diallo of Spain, 5th best in qualification. Nestor Abad of Spain, the top performer in qualifying. Germany's Glenn Trebing, the 3rd best in qualification. Those are your 8 gymnasts going for men's horizontal bar gold. Could be a very positive finish this for the host nation, with Myakinin to perform. And he has got a very good record at World Cup level. Warm-ups to take place for the first 4. We've got the 2nd best qualifier in the first half, but then we have the 1st, 3rd, 4th and 5th best qualifiers in the second half of the final. So this one will keep us guessing right the way through to the conclusion. And you always have that element of unpredictability to a men's horizontal bar competition, where there are often some quite considerable upgrades thrown into the final. Cameron Lynn of Great Britain. Huge congratulations to him on his tremendous performance at the Scottish Artistic Gymnastics Championships earlier this year, where he won 5 gold medals. Finished 2nd in the all-around competition, and then he absolutely dominated the apparatus finals, winning floor, pommel horse, rings, parallel bars and this apparatus. Then went on to make several finals at the British Championships as well. As I'm sure many of you watching this know, the home nations of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland have their own domestic championships. Then there is a combined British Championships. So it's not always clear-cut and easy to talk about the national championships of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, because there is the overarching British Championships, but the individual home nations championships have great prestige attached to them as well. And then added to that, you have the fun complication of sometimes gymnasts competing in guest categories. So you'll get English gymnasts competing as guests at the Scottish Championships, Welsh gymnasts competing as guests at the English, and so on. And then you have also all of the constituent parts of the wider British Isles, such as the Channel Islands, and lovely gymnasts like Daniel Lee of Jersey, who was so impressive at the Commonwealth Games. And we've had a Commonwealth Games champion performing here in Georgia Godwin. We've got Mediterranean Games champions. Nestor Abad performing in the second half of the final. It is about time to begin. It's just hit 5 p.m. Tel Aviv time, but the sun a long way from setting on this competition, just as it is a long way from setting over the skyline of the city that never sleeps. We've got the horizontal bar final now to bring you. The first competitor in the men's horizontal bar final is Germany's Alexander Kunz, 7th best with a score of 11.55. Starts with real purpose to his swing. Pike to Kachev. And then a straddle Kachev. Oh, unfortunately for Alexander Kunz, the hands going down right at the last moments in that display. So a full mark lost. And there is going to be considerably higher difficulty to come in this final from the likes of Miakinin and from Mezaros particularly. But Miakinin is the gentleman that we really expect to see take a lead from a difficulty standpoint. He's quite piked as he lands, Kunz, and the gravity and kineticism didn't favour him. The first time that we've seen Alexander Kunz in a horizontal bar final at international level, so that's an important milestone for this 20-year-old. Much excitement for those gymnasts whose competition is now done. They can just sit and enjoy the last final. And it's always got a nice atmosphere, the men's high bar final, because you get a lot of people who finish their competitions coming out and joining the crowd. .45 the score for Alexander Kunz, so he managed to gain 4/10 of difficulty, which is really positive, but unfortunately the hands coming down meant for an overall loss of 1/10 compared to his qualification score. Nonetheless, good that he could add that difficulty in. Here is Cameron Lynn of Great Britain, the reigning Scottish horizontal bar champion, and on virtually everything else as well, because he won 5 gold medals at those Scottish Championships. What a nice beginning that was. Can he keep this going? Straight Kachev, difficult skill, got his clearance over the bar right. Oh, big amplitude on the straddle Kachev, this is nice. He's talked about wanting to go that little bit beyond the perception of him. He's been under the radar, in his own words, for a while. He now wants to really start to make a name for himself. That is how to do it. Well done, Cameron Lim. What a lovely display. He is so much more confident now because of that brilliant display at the National Championships of Scotland. He's in the best shape that he's ever been in, that's clear. He made several finals at the British Championships. And he came here, just as he came to the British, saying, I am under the radar and I want to make my mark. That dismount was absolutely delightful. He also won full colours at the Northern European Championships last year. Gold on the pommel horse, silver with the Scottish team, and bronze on the parallel bars. And it's a nice moment for a young man who performed well at the Commonwealth Games, especially considering that he had a very serious ankle injury in the lead up to the competition. He was very upset with himself for how he performed afterwards, but it was a great accomplishment to perform as well as he did in a Scottish team that finished 5th. There's no doubt this was well beyond his qualification display. 12.85, that is actually a gain of a mark and a half for Cameron Lynn. He gains half a mark of difficulty and a full mark of execution. So, job very nicely done from the 20-year-old. Ilya Lyubimov of Israel, 6th best in qualification, 11.75. But we've just seen the 8th best qualifier really step up. Good height on the straight Kachev. Straddle Kachev has good hip clearance. Into his Kovac. Just perhaps lost a little of his form coming out of it, but he did get real amplitude. That's an enjoyable performance from Ilya Lyubimov of Israel. Young man at 21, and yet the oldest of the three we've seen so far in this final. Special moment for him performing in front of his home crowd. And a nice moment of bonhomie between him and Cameron Lynn. It's a score of 12.6 for Ilya Lyubimov. He's in second place. Same difficulty score as Cameron Lynn, but the execution not quite as tidy. So by a quarter of a mark, Lynn leads. Now, will all that change? This is Alexander Myakinin of the host nation Israel, bronze medalist at the European Championships in Mersin in 2020. And he won the World Cup gold medal in Baku earlier this year. 13.35 in qualification. He's capable of exciting things on this apparatus. His Cassina is performed successfully, as is his Coleman. Piked Kachev, nice pike position, really acute. Straddle Kachev also good. Looking compelling for a lead here, Alexander Myakinin. Got some intricate close control work as well. How is the landing going to be for Alexander Myakinin of Israel? Very good. That surely will lead. A special moment for Myakinin. This is not the first nation that he has represented internationally. He did compete for another nation before this, but all of his success has come for Israel. Cassino and then a Coleman. Big and complicated off-axis release and regrasp moves. He did very well at the World Cup in Baku, winning the title. He'd had a tough time in Doha before that. At the moment it is Great Britain's Cameron Lynn who leads with a score of 12.85. One imagines that we will see a different sort of leaderboard at the halfway point once this number is in for Alexander Myakinin of Israel. .6, Alexander Myakinin is comfortably at the top of the leaderboard. A gap of 3/4 of a mark ahead of Cameron Lynn. And already the warm-ups are pretty close to being completed for the second half of the final. We're looking at Spain's Nestor Abad. And the only gymnast remaining is Glenn Trebing from Germany, and then we'll resume the horizontal bar final. Meanwhile, here's a look back at what we've seen so far. The second half of the men's horizontal bar final. Christopher Mészáros of Hungary, the fourth best in qualification, and the proud owner of 2 gold medals already, plus more this weekend. He's done brilliantly. That was nicely performed. Rare to see the piked version of the Kovac, then the standard one. Very straight Kachev. Straddle Kachev, that had a nice sense of float across the bar. Pretty well controlled routine by and large from Christopher Mészáros. His execution in qualification 7.0. And certainly he's stepped up the game when the finals have taken place throughout this weekend. Well done to him on a really compelling display across the board in Tel Aviv. Didn't get an enormous amount of travel away from the apparatus as he dismounted. He is the reigning Hungarian all-around champion 3 years in a row, Mészáros. And also was on the podium in the horizontal bar final. Second place, 13.25. His execution absolutely unrecognisable from qualification. A gain of 3/4 of a mark for him. And he slots in neatly behind Miakinin. So that means that with 3 to go, it is Miakinin, Mészáros, Lin, 1, 2 and 3. Here is Tieno Diallo. We've got a Spanish double header now. 5th in qualification with 12.45. His Kovac is safely delivered. Straight Kachev. And the straddle variety. The original of the now varied family of skills created in the 1970s by Alexander Kachev. Very nice dismount from Tieno Diallo of Spain. Elegant twisting. Elegance as one always gets from this gentleman. Born in Conakry in the capital of Guinea. But he calls Catalonia and Manresa home. Just in the last few months, we're starting to see an awful lot more of Tieno Diallo in finals and expecting him to be a contender. And there's no reason for him not to be a contender. He's a very fine gymnast. $13.15. Tieno Diallo goes into the bronze medal position. 3/10 ahead of Great Britain's Cameron Lynn. Diallo with 4/10 of difficulty. So although Lin had a higher execution score, he's actually got the best execution score, the British gymnast, of any of the gymnasts that we've seen so far in this competition. The difficulty of Diallo sufficient to nudge him in front. To Nestor Abad from Spain, the top performer in qualification with a score of 13.65. That would still put him into the lead despite the improvement from second best qualifier Alexander Miakinin. Over to the 30-year-old from Alicante. Just gets over with a brush, or almost it looked like, of the toes on the bar in the straight catch. F straddle and pike variety is much better clearance. He was more marginal in the first one. He gets lovely travel away from the apparatus to dismount. Good performance from Nestor Abad. Different sort of construction of routine from what we've seen so far. But this veteran knows what he's doing. He's a clever gymnast. And he's a reliable one when it comes to international competitions. We have a look back at this display from Nestor Abad. Well, we nearly do. A nice little still image, though, for you to enjoy. Two-time Olympian, the 30-year-old. One more routine to come after this, and it will be from the German gymnast Glenn Trebing. He looked pretty pleased with that display, Nestor Abad. Is he going to knock Tierno Diallo, his own international teammate, off the podium? The wait goes on for the gymnast who competed at his 7th World Championships last year. Tremendous accomplishment. .8 for Nestor Abad. He goes into the lead. 8.5 for his execution. A 5.3 difficulty score. That is lower by 2/10 than Alexander Miakinin, but his execution, the best that we've seen from anyone in this final. Now to Glenn Trebing of Germany, third best in qualification with a score of 13. So he needs to go well beyond that if he is now to get onto the podium, because third place is 13.25. And that brings to a close this horizontal bar final and all of the competition at the inaugural Tel Aviv World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. The performance of Glenn Trebing, the last that we'll see. Has he managed to get himself into medal contention with that performance? Christopher Mizaros on 13.25 occupies bronze. Trebing was a quarter of a mark below that in qualification. A nicely executed routine, no question about that. The young man who used to compete alongside his twin Lewis. They trained together at a boarding school in Hanover. He is from an impressive sporting atmosphere. His partner Mia Lachenmacher, a top flight handball player. He's done it! He's done it! Glenn Trebing, 13.4. He's got himself a bronze medal. And really key there for Trebing was that quality of execution, 8.2. In just a moment or two, we've got 3 victory ceremonies to bring your way. These are the classified results in the men's horizontal bar competition. Glenn Trebing of Germany wins the bronze. Alexander Myakin of Israel takes silver, and Spain's Nestor Abad wins the title. We start with the victory ceremony for the men's parallel bars competition. And one gymnast producing a massive performance compared to qualification, jumping from 8th to 1st place. The winner of the bronze medal, Spain's Tiano Diallo. Christopher Mizaros of Hungary, the winner of the silver medal. The title goes to a gymnast from Turkey, Ahmed Under. He must be absolutely thrilled about that. 13.4 in qualification, 14.35 in the final. A convincing win. The medalists in the men's parallel bars competition. at the Tel Aviv World Challenge Cup. The familiar sounds of Niels Daniel, the Master of Ceremonies for this FIG Artistic Gymnastics World Challenge Cup in Tel Aviv. I'm sure you know his voice very well from countless international competitions over the years. The victory ceremony for the women's floor competition in Tel Aviv. The winner of the bronze medal, Spain's Alba Petisco. A real jump up from qualification. She was the 8th best in the preliminary round. Morgane Ossisek-Reimer of France, winner of the silver medal. Some terrific and high impact tumbling from the 19-year-old. The title won by Georgia Godwin of Australia. A performance worthy of taking a World Challenge Cup title. The score 13.567. A second gold medal of the weekend for Georgia Godwin. And we'll now have the national anthem of Australia. The medalists in the women's floor competition at the Tel Aviv World Challenge Cup. The first of its kind, but the second of this weekend in terms of titles won by Georgia Godwin of Australia. And we have just one more ceremony to come for the men's horizontal bar competition. So don't go too far away. the victory ceremony for the men's horizontal bar competition at the Tel Aviv World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. The winner of the bronze medal, Germany's Glenn Trebing, a wonderful culmination to a successful weekend for him. The silver medal to Alexander Miaknin of Israel, to the delight of the home crowd. But it's Spain's Nestor Abad who takes the title with a beautifully executed routine. The experienced gymnast, the oldest man in the final, the 30-year-old, a World Challenge Cup champion. And we will now have the national anthem of Spain.
Let's rise, ladies and gentlemen, for the national anthem of Spain.
The medalists in the men's horizontal bar competition at the first ever Tel Aviv World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. And that brings to a close this first ever competition in World Challenge Cup Gymnastics in Tel Aviv, Israel. A memorable couple of days of finals action, and hopefully the start of a long legacy when it comes to Tel Aviv and World Challenge Cup Gymnastics. I hope you've enjoyed all of the action as the World Challenge Cup season really gathers pace, because there's another coming up next weekend. It's next stop Osijek. But until then, I'll say goodbye from Tel Aviv. I've been Olly Hogben. It's been a pleasure having your company.